welcome everybody. I'm so glad that you're here for Well-Versed Words with my good friend, Dr. Gary Grossman, who is a poet among many other wonderful things. And I want to tell you a little bit about him before he begins reading from his newest collection. Gary is the husband of Dr. Barbara Grossman. I love that that was the first thing you wanted to share, Gary. And the father of two adult daughters. He is professor emeritus of animal ecology at the University of Georgia and loves to share his poems and essays, which have appeared in more than 80 literary reviews. Gary doesn't enter contests, but his work has been nominated for the usual awards, including the Pushcart and Best of Net. Gary's poetry books, Lyrical Years, 2023, from Kelsey, What I Meant to Say Was 2023 inspired, and Objects in the Mirror May Be Closer Than They Appear, 2025, Arroyo Seco, and graphic memoir, My Life in Fish, One Scientist's Journey, 2023 inspired, are all available from the author or Amazon. But I recommend that you get them from the author because then maybe he'll sign them for you. His fourth book of poems, Controlled Chaos, is currently sitting in the hands of 10 publishers. So publishers, get a move on. And you can read more of his work and find out more about his many, many talents on www.garygrossman.net. And Gary, welcome. I'm so glad you're here with us today. What a treat.
Well, thank you, Allison, and thank you for that glowing introduction. And yes, I am indeed the husband of Dr. Barbara Grossman, who ran the graduate program in dietetics at the University of Georgia for many years. So just think of all the neuroses our children have from being the offspring of two PhDs. And I am going to read a few poems from my most recent book and a few poems from the manuscript that's currently sitting with too many publishers. I shouldn't be snide about that because I just finished the manuscript a month or so ago, so it hasn't been sitting too long. And then also some brand new work. And Allison and I are just going to kind of go back and forth on questions and discussions. One thing I will say is that I I believe I don't know who said this, but that one has to be faithful to the poem. And so I say that because everything I write about happened to me, except on occasion there are things that would make the poem better. And so in those cases, I am faithful to the poem. So thank you for your patience and thank you, Allison. And I will start with a poem entitled Bloodroot in March. And for those of you non-botanists, I'm doing an explanation of the poem here, which is something I never do. But bloodroot is a flower, one of the first flowers we see in the forest here in the southeastern United States. One. Regardless of the year, it's the first flower seen on my daily hikes, pushing through every November's abandoned duvet of tan and umber, a patchwork of ash, oak, maple, and hickory. I pause, eyelids unspooled, like a tired window blind, and inhale the forest's green anticipation. 2. Willingly, this could be my last breath, absorbing the effortless geometry of these 8 ivory petals, rising from leaves mimicking round Japanese fans from the 1840s. 3. How is it that small perfections can both break and reassemble us? As if we were Adam and Eve on day one of the completed world, mouths agape at the very first ivory petals. And the next poem I'm going to read from the book is entitled Language Arts. I'm considering how things classify, either as lewd or not lewd. Such a chewy word, a mouthful, headlining tongue, lips, and jaws, a playful nip from incisors. And colors. Pink is lewd, coral is lewd, as are rose and raspberry. But fuchsia and magenta, no. They bellow in a fake oh kind of way. Are you finished yet? Just too much, overdone, like a cut of wagyu cooked well rather than rare. Lewdness is color that pants rapidly or oscillates without volition. The wet whisper of wind over teeth as breath draws in and is pushed out, mirroring tidal flows, subtle but hot. And odors, musk, lewd, dried breast milk, unlewd, 6-day-old sheets, lewd, toasted bread, unlewd. Though none of this walks my mind as my fingers slowly flow over the unstrung pearls of your spine.
I have to say, I love what you do with your specificity there and the sounds, the assonance, and all of the different moments that you give us that are textures on the tongue. It's not just the color or the shape or the use of something, but it's also the way that it feels in the mouth. And you do that so wonderfully. And gosh, that image of the overcooked wagyu, like, how would you ever desecrate? It's just terrible. I flinched when you said that. So I'm just wondering, when you wrote that, did you have a sense of like what the words tasted like as you were writing them, or the feeling of them as you
Yeah,
into
yeah.
verse?
I mean, it's interesting. It probably started with this book, and that is, I became unconsciously interested in sound, and I found myself words just coming naturally that were assonant words. And
Hmm.
that was almost a revelation for me because I have no formal training, although I've been to workshops. But it's one of the things we're always supposed to work on. And I guess I was surprised that at least in me, it became an intuitive process rather than one that I had to like look at rhyme zone to find
Right.
a word that would be assonant with an earlier word. So yeah, I like to write what I'll call meaty poems, and that is,
Yeah.
something that you can chew on while you're reading them. So
I felt that so strongly. And I also think that your scientist training of close observation really, I would think it leads you into trying to express the details of a thing from
I,
many,
I,
many different perspectives.
I think it's I did a little survey and I haven't written it up, but of scientists who are also poets, just asking them questions about whether their scientific background was a hindrance or, a benefit. And the punchline is everybody thought it was a benefit. But I mean, I've met more than one person in the poetry world who kind of disparages science and, oh, you're too analytical and, you're not in the emotion of things or you're not in the aesthetics. And for me, there are so many similarities, many of which you just mentioned between science and poetry. I mean, close observation,
Yes.
specificity. Um, you know,
Curiosity,
yeah, yeah.
the
So,
way things work, the
yeah.
way that we use our senses to
I mean,
observe.
I often say, I mean, when somebody asks me, I'll say that that poetry and science, that scientists and poets are trying to do the same thing, and that is basically looking at something and finding something unique and interesting to say about it. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
I really admire that, and I wanted to just also speak to the poets who have one idea of what makes a good poem. It's usually the one that sounds like their style, right?
Of
Um,
course.
and I
We
it's
won't
such
name names here, though.
no, not at all, but I do think it's such a disservice to the act of creation to think that there's only one way to be good at something or one way to make something meaningful. I
Yes.
have so many friends. Two of my favorite poets are physicians who write very detailed work about their experiences in taking care of bodies, and it's a world that I don't know anything about, but it's fascinating, and it really sheds a lot of light to me on what means to be human in a body. And
Hmm.
I feel that your way of expressing the textures and shapes and colors and you know, evolutionary niches of things is so rich, and I always learn so much. So I'm excited to hear your next poem.
Okay,
Please tell me.
okay. More to come for sure. So this is entitled The Buddha's Precepts, and it's in controlled chaos. The couple seated in front of us refuse to sit down, even when the MC arrives on stage. And every time I lift a foot, the oak slat floor echoes Velcro, given its veneer of stale beer and danced on peanut shells. All those things the sutras tell me to leave behind. The linebackers standing in front, the overactive heating, exhaling floor stench, the cell phones angering the night. And then the front man picks up his road-scarred 1959 Telecaster, the one he wrote the band's only hit with, and strums the first riff of that song, fingers jetting up the neck to high octave A's and D's, notes so sharp I feel them only as newly oxygenated blood jitterbugging in each lobe of lung. Here I am, body and soul, negating every precept of samsara, suffering, origins, causes, paths, nothing cleaving me from joyous notes. And who knew Gautama would return, shedding major thirds and fifths instead of light?
Yay! Well, you know, I'm a former musician, so that one was right up my alley.
Okay.
And I do think that music is it gives us access to the divine that is the fully the here-ness of being alive now on
Sure.
earth in the moment.
Yeah.
And there's a an ecstatic sort of occupation of our own bodies that happens when we connect with music,
Yeah.
and we can feel the thrumming of it through our
Right.
bodies. I
Right.
loved how you said that you could feel the oxygenated blood in the lobes of your lungs as you played those high notes. Absolutely. Is wonderful. I won't interrupt you after every poem, but I was just very excited.
Okay.
Please go on.
All right. So this is another nature poem. This is called Tuesday, Late Summer in the Blue Ridge. As if 546 shades of green existed all at once on each Appalachian hillside. As if the red oak said, I'll be viridian and you be mint, and the shagbark hickory answered, No, I prefer dark moss. Let striped maple be mint. As if the loamy soil conspired with these trees, arriving at how to pleasure all five human senses on this 21st day of August. As if ferns and streams had matched loins, then birthed an incantation so complex it had neither odor nor form, existing only as a slight tickle across your brow. As if an aphid crawled purposefully through the blonde forest of your left forearm, as if each and every touch could be not an annoyance, but a blessing.
I love that.
All right, so this is a poem entitled Barbershop, Bishop, Georgia. Bishop's a tiny little dot on the map just south of Athens, which is where I live, Athens, Georgia. So, scooting back into the maroon padded chair, I hear the snap of the barber's cape. Then, I left him last week. Maybe the fifth time will stick. A eureka of good news despite her scent of sad plums, the purple kind that end up lost in the fruit bowl, like those kids on the sides of milk cartons. Scissors click and clack, a cranky crab at low tide, as my hair cascades onto green linoleum floor tiles, now rising like an Appalachian foothill of gray-streaked hickory. Our friendship, a small closed loop. Us, clippers, scissors, and my hair. A bi-monthly cut. But our 23 years have sped by almost as fast as my new 25 pounds accrued. Our kids, grown and gone, ripened Honeycrisp apples. My hair falls like rain as she shakes out the crinkled cape. Maybe this time it will stick. It didn't, in case you're curious.
I am, and also I wondered if you could share with our audience a little bit about the culture of beauty salons and barbershops in the South, because I think it is different from other regions in the country. I I think it's almost like going to a confessional, even if you're not a Catholic. There's a very sort of sacred space between the person cutting the hair and the person whose hair is being cut. Um,
Right.
and I'd love for you to share a little bit of what your experience has been like. Also, because we're both transplants to the South, and for me, like the first exposure I ever had was going with my grandmother in Louisiana to her beauty salon, and these ladies would just hang out like all afternoon, even after their hair was done. They didn't want to leave
Right.
because
Right.
it was they were this was a safe place for them to be themselves and to share what was meaningful to them. So I'm just curious if you could share
Yeah,
what it's been
I
for
can't
you.
claim to be any expert, and obviously I've had the same barber, a woman, for a long time. And but I would echo everything that you've said for both for women and the beauty salon and men, the barber shop. It's a place where you can quite literally let your hair down, and
Yes.
and it is a safe space, and it has been, and it's kind of as the Southeast continues to urbanize and we see these like great cuts and chain kind of places, like so many things, the barbershops losing, we're losing barbershops that meant something. So yeah, it's kind of sad.
I think I'm going to speak directly to our viewers. Go out now and find a small, locally owned place to get your hair cut and form a relationship with the person who is cutting your hair.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's such an intimate act. I mean, to have
Yeah.
somebody, I mean, they're not playing around, but they're in your hair, literally. And especially like my barber, for about the first, I don't know, 5 years, she'd say, "What do you want me to do?" And I'd say, "Just do what you always do." I mean, I come to you
Hmm.
so I don't have to think about what I want done. Just cut it off. I mean, for a number of years, and because I run, and it's horrifically hot and humid in the summer, I just say, cut it all off, and and I'll see you in 6 months, so. But anyway, she's about to
Thank you.
retire, so I wish her
Oh,
much, much happiness.
yeah.
And so this poem, I'm a new grandfather, so there are a couple of,
Mazel tov.
thank you, a couple of grandfather poems. So this is titled "And Instantly," and it's a drop title, meaning it's the first line of the poem. And instantly I awake to staccato moon cries, my newborn grandson emitting yelps that surf hair cells deep within my inner ear, undamming rivers of oxytocin. Though my daughter will swiftly quell his cries, I lie still, smiling at this bald hooligan who's thieved the silver dollars of my night.
Oh, I love that. I love the last line, especially. That one is a zinger. I just thieved the silver dollars of my night. Yes, yes.
And this is called Properties of Sound. October 17th, 1982. The Mojave night winked twice, and my transistor radio, tuned to light rock, was suddenly interrupted by the shot glass chants of Wolfman Jack, dropping the needle on the Kingsmen's Louie Louie, a ghost show floating in space since the late 60s. Then it's the Ronettes, Be My Baby, all coming from the specter of XCRB, the border blaster station from Rosarita Beach, just over the Baja line. The zombie broadcast, what physics calls a long delayed echo, shows sounds last a lifetime or three, which is how I learned to stop yelling at my kids.
Man, you with the last line, scary. Ah,
Yeah. I hope it's not too boring. When I put these poems
no.
together, I was like, does every last line have to be a zinger? But
I,
apparently in my head it does.
well, I've always been told by many of my mentors that if you can't land the plane, then people won't even remember the
Yeah.
flight.
Yeah, it's
So
good. That's great. A great way of phrasing it. So,
yeah. So I think I feel such satisfaction when you feel like, yes, this is the turn that sums the whole thing up. And I don't think anyone will find this reading boring. We've been in the woods with the bloodroot. We've been to the barber shop. Now we're hearing ghost radios. It's a very wide ranging thing.
okay.
So please keep going. I'm
Okay.
enjoying it immensely.
So this is a poem entitled Fatherhood. I must have changed 1,000 diapers, constipated black beans, blowouts like new lava, all five senses engaged, a river in flood stage. Vision, oh no, touch, wash hands now. Hearing, rocks hitting water. Smell, don't inhale. Taste, thankfully nothing. A know-it-all acquaintance once told me every odor molecule we inhale is incorporated in our body, which is true when we breathe through our mouths. The other day, my eldest concluded our discussion. I have taken so much shit from you, I replied. You have no idea.
Yep. As a parent of two kids as well, who are fast approaching adulthood, I that yeah, we were discussing diaper changing because my older son is working at a camp for kids on the spectrum this summer. And he's working at a place called Rock the Spectrum. We rock the spectrum. And he's learning to change pull ups and diapers.
Mm,
Um, and so he's like, Mom, there's so much poop.
yeah,
And I said, This is excellent training because you'll
yeah,
be in the trenches
exactly.
literally later
Your
on.
wife will love you.
Yes.
So, uh, okay, this poem is called Breaking. Non-stop this January, fog to drizzle, drizzle to moderate, moderate to pouring, pouring to unremitting, unremitting to monsoonal. Then the wet gust that pushed the door open just after you left. Rose soft shell suitcase in hand, your long chestnut ponytail still slightly damp. So this next poem involves self-harm. So if you if that's triggering for you, you might want to turn your sound off. It's entitled Cutting. She was serving some dude at the takeout window as I strode up to the counter. Willowy limbs and torso, towny black low-risers, and spaghetti strap cotton top. Swiveling, she faced me and said, just a minute, I need to get some pennies from the back. My eyes pulled downward to a mountain range of small white-capped ridges on her left forearm. Razor blade tightly held, thumb and index finger, endorphins freed. She's brave. So few of us openly wear our trauma. I fought to keep my gaze on hazel eyes, only to fumble three painful exhalations. I'm old enough to be her dad. An open book asks to be read, or maybe not. I'm not sure I even know this language. And this is another poem about raising kids and hazards. It's called, I just wrote this 2 weeks ago, so it's called Sentinel.
Hmm.
The kids splash in the shallow end, a veil of shimmering silver butterflies rising and falling as summer bliss sands the burrs off chlorinated air. My girls, 6 and 10, play Marco Polo as Barb and I sit adjacent on the pool's rough concrete edge, submerging our sun-baked legs, eating lunch treats. Everything subs from D'Angelo's. Cannonballing kids send swells through the pool, while the raven-haired swim team lifeguard scrolls Instagram, and the gym rat guard chats up yet one more string bikini. Nearby sit acquaintances Becky and Ron, ex-prom king and queen. Their son Aaron almost lost to another pool 4 years ago. Everybody watching, nobody watching, as he first went face down, then sank. Becky screamed, jumped in, thumped his rib cage even as she dragged him to the pool's rough lip. Today, 8-year-old Aaron's playing with the older boys in the far deep end. He is tan, has blonde hair, and resembles so many other boys. So, what do you get out of that?
Oh
How
gosh. Um, I'm still like, well, first of all, living in the South, going to the pool in the summer is just it's part of the rhythm of life here. Almost every neighborhood has a pool, and it's part relaxation and heady delight of being in a being able to be in the cool water and a measure of independence for kids swimming, but it's also really dangerous. And if you look away at the wrong moment, you could lose everything. So it's to me, what I got is the mixture of like we can finally relax and just really enjoy and be fully present and let our kids have fun, and also don't relax, don't look away, don't stop paying
yeah,
attention because you never know what could happen. And there's this balance that we're always trying to strike, and it's not just in a pool, it's in life, right? It's parenting, it's understanding that we have to let our kids go and explore, but at the same time, um, something could happen in the blink of an eye, and
yeah,
it could change everything.
yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I wanted the ending to be ominous.
Yes,
And I
it
wanted,
is.
yeah, okay, good, good. And I wanted it to be kind of clear that the parents, again, were not really paying attention. So,
I got that sense, and I got that sort of he's at the deep end of the pool after all,
yeah, yeah.
again. And there is a sort of a the fact that they were the prom king and queen. There's a certain amount if you grow up as a popular kid, which I was never a popular kid, just to be very clear. But there's a certain amount of paying attention you don't have to do. You pay attention to your status and you pay attention to how other people perceive you.
Yeah.
But there's maybe a sense of there's
Entitlement.
performative, yeah, it's entitlement and a performative way of interacting as opposed to being fully immersed in what is present and what is
Yeah.
in front of you. But I
Okay.
wouldn't want to say that. I just want to clarify to anybody who was the prom king or queen. I'm not saying that everybody's like that, but I definitely have been around people who were very busy taking selfies and not noticing anything else that was going on around them, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of a disease of this younger generation. Although I'm
Yeah.
not talking about your kids.
Thank
But
you.
yeah, working at the university and being constantly around 18 to 22-year olds, uh it's different. It's
Well,
you see how
you know,
habits change.
and paying attention is a dying art. Being even
Yeah.
having the capacity to focus for longer than 5 minutes on anything. Yeah, that's a longer conversation that I'd love to have with you, Gary. The problem with having your friends on this is that you just want to talk, and I do want to listen to you and do your work.
Okay, well here's another poem. This is called Jury Box. All rise bounced off oak-paneled walls. Judge seated, 12 jurors sank into armless chairs, ritually sanitized, 8 a.m. Each seat's innards restrained by a skin of pilly black fabric, prelude to judgment and woe. This week, two of three teenage triplets separated from life by an oversized, jacked up truck and a poorly designed minivan seat. Manufacturer swearing, "We use more steel than anyone else." But the chairs see so much and now sag just slightly more after hearing the parents speak. That was a poem that came from an experience on a jury I had earlier this
That
year.
is devastating. We lost a young person that went to my son's school in a car accident last year.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, these stories, they just, they take your breath. And, there's just, it's to sit on that jury, I can imagine was like trying to walk through drying cement.
It was emotionally wrenching, and they
Yeah.
settled after a few days of testimony, but
Oh,
it still it still was a gut-wrenching experience.
yeah, you just carry it with you forever
Yeah.
thinking about that.
So this next poem is called Heteronyms. Wind or wind, one object, one action, both Middle English. Today's run, and a gust raps against my chest like yesterday's bar bully, hoping to mix me in his highball glass of fear and shame. My eyes now tear at draft's force and randomness as I'm wound round by blind transparency and soil scraps strike my face, hands rising to guard lowered eyelids, and minuscule dirt clods continue the assault. Annoyances birthed by the missignation of heated and chilled air, spinning off threatening funnels on this June afternoon. That one might need some more work. I don't know. It's a little obtuse.
Oh, I got the sense of menace in the air, and that there's nothing like running in right before a storm, Gary, in the
Yeah.
South. There's just that lowering becomes like the thing that the sky does, but it also feels like something's lowering, like a curtain's coming down to change the scene into something much darker. Um,
Maybe that funnel cloud that's down the block.
exactly, exactly.
All right. This is entitled Time Travel. He looks at me with 4-month-old olive eyes, focusing and unfocusing, a camera lens on automatic, and I realize he's a DNA Matryoshka doll containing every century. In Hebrew, we say Lador Vador, from generation to generation. And I imagine stepping through this genetic wormhole to open and scan the code of each smaller doll, only to have the last infinitely small baby slip through my fingers. In the now, there is just us, changing diapers, pumping milk, urging burps, waiting for that first smile.
I love that image of the Matryoshka doll with the genetics, carrying the genetics of all these different generations and the incarnations. It really is. It's so miraculous for me to even see things like crazy ingrown toenails that are on my children have them. They're from my husband's side. I like to give him a lot of grief about that. It's like, why did you have to give him the ingrown toenails of all things? But at the same time, it's wonderful to see these little things, like I have a double jointed thumb and my children have double jointed thumbs.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah.
these little bits of things that continue the story of who we
Yeah.
are in the
Say
next.
you're mine.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
This is called continuity. My anxiety free floats, jangled by the 7 hour drive down I-75 that cleaves Georgia from east to west. So I self prescribe an upcoming 62 minutes of tummy time with my newborn grandson. 5.5 pounds of archived DNA, his unfettered tush just brimming my right hand. Nolan's soul tasks: lungs filled, then emptied, stomach filled, then emptied, bowel filled, then emptied, redo, repeat, rehash. A life without doubt or complexity, though the world outside fractures and cries. And passing the exit for Atlanta Braves Turner Field, I ponder April, the new season, the Little League base or field Nolan will play, already lanky and long. I vision him sliding into home plate over and over, always safe, always avoiding the tag.
Mm.
This is entitled Can We Not Unpack This? Uh, and this is an unusual poem. I always do simultaneous submissions.
Yeah, me
And
too. Yeah.
and so this poem was accepted, and I sent, my little email off to a really high-end journal, who replied, "Shame on us. This was the poem we wanted. We shouldn't have taken so long."
Yay!
So it's called "Can We Not Unpack This? Can we just sit? Let words infiltrate each and every sensory organ, as willing to receive as plowed ground furrows arching upward to envelop bare roots? Can we just reach out and taste both smooth and jagged edges of the line? Can we just sit silently, eyelids drawn, those pocket doors to the heart, and feel the quiet thump thump of words touching kettle drum ears? Can we throw back our heads and inhale a stanza's pungent mix of linseed and turpentine pigments, phthalo blue, cadmium red, and titanium white, when they repaint the slightly worn canvas of our years? Laboratory dissections rarely yield emotion or comprehension. Can we just rest in this bed of yellow tulips and not hear, "It's May, not can"?
Oh, I can see why more than one journal wanted that one. There's a couple. You're so good with a very, very specific image, like the pocket doors of our eyelids. That's just so wonderful, Gary.
Thank you.
Um, I keep thinking, okay, well, I need to make sure my hinges are well oiled.
Well, we all need well-oiled hinges. So
Yes.
this is called the present. We watered the neighbor's plants while he vacationed. And in appreciation, he gifted us a book on the local college mascot, a Mustang, though we're neither horse people nor college fans. A professor of Hobbes and Kant, I can't see him purchasing the book. Unlikely that. But the episode brought to mind regifting, a concept birthed, like most 21st century ethics, by Seinfeld and Company, where Lane regifts a label maker to Tim the physician, who regifts it to Jerry, leading to what can only be an infinite regress. A single present passing from friend to friend in a chain of never ending favors that aren't. Regifting is real. Eventually, stores, even Amazon, will feel the fate of dodos and dinosaurs because all that exists in this stardust universe is 17 presents swapping countries and continents, weddings and birthdays. As Seinfeld and his posse excuse every bad behavior with, well, isn't it the thought that counts? As the last present in the world continues to pass hand to hand, never to rest nor arrive.
Ah, I love that. And I love that this poem has at its forefront this label maker because that's what we do as poets. We're always label making,
Sure, sure.
trying to put some sort of words that will sum up the essence of something
Yeah.
so that it can be placed in a different perspective. And I love the idea of regifting the same 17 things around the world. If only, Gary, I wish that were true. I wish it would happen.
Okay, this is you can see a theme here of my new grandchild living in Florida. This is titled Driving on Interstate 75 at the northern edge of Florida. The family in the orange Honda minivan that can't stay in its lane. The early 20s woman in the red two-door Toyota Tercel talking on her cell. The construction dude in the silver Ford 150 pickup weaving among lanes like an angry snake. The blonde girl teen in the blue-gray Prius hybrid that never leaves the slow lane. The Vanity Fair couple in the white Tesla sedan that signals with every lane change. The guy with a silver ponytail who keeps his convertible T-Bird cruising in lane 3. The bald man with the long gray beard in the diesel Mercedes driving 50 in the fast lane. The bald man with the long gray beard in the diesel Mercedes driving 50 in the fast lane. The bald man with the long gray beard in the diesel Mercedes driving 50 in the fast lane.
Oh, I've been there. I've seen that guy. I've seen all of those people.
Yeah.
Um, and I love that poetry of passage where we're moving from one place to another is one of the places where we get to learn the most about the humanity that we're sharing space with, whether
Yeah.
we're sitting on a subway or we're driving on a highway. Um, Humans are just so wonderfully quirky and annoying and specific. um, and I love the way you've captured them.
All right. So this is called birding. What is this poetic obsession with great blue herons? I get their Taoist priests hunkered down in contemplation of Lao Tzu's new and selected thoughts, and that every scroll painted west of the Aleutian Islands has an off-center heron placed to guard river or mountain tarn. But what if fame arises just from large size and reluctance to fly? The ability to be rigid, so visible, as if someone plopped a 4-story gray concrete skyscraper at Marsh's edge. They call, not to us, but to flatter each other, a reed flattening grrrr, and when they lift, they dump. tagging with graffitos of bone white uric acid. But what if they're just big dumb birds that stand still long enough to clutch our prayers and visions? And what if we're all just big dumb birds? Shouldn't we still strive to hold that pose?
Oh, Gary, guess what I read at our Unitarian church this morning? A poem about a great blue heron. So I'm
I I published more than one.
like,
So
oh.
this is the last poem, unless you want to go on further. This is titled Early Voting, Athens, Georgia, 16 June 2026. As I stand in the foyer of our local library, 10 feet more or less from the Vote Here sign, a friend walks through the lobby door. Arms open, she strides over and we embrace, chest against chest, my arms envelop, then touch her thin, protruding shoulder blades, and I suddenly realize this is not my friend. Just a resemblance in a Birkenstock clog, patchouli, Subaru kind of way. I stiffen, begin to pull back. Memories surge of Me Too and COVID, how now the earth spins on a different axis. But I resist and continue to speak familiars to this other woman, still holding me close.
Oh, that's beautiful. Um, I did a lot of poll greeting in the last election, and I got a lot of people coming over and wanting to really share things that, sometimes people share things that surprise you when you're
Yeah,
standing there, um, and working at an election site. And um, it does feel like you're holding space for a lot of different kinds of experiences moving through.
yeah.
You can't separate our political choices from our human ones. The way that we're all just trying to get by.
Yeah, and
Um,
I
and
think
can you,
also voting is one of the few things we can do that it's a direct action, and
yes,
people want to share that, they want to share that communal activity.
I still get so excited to get my I voted sticker after I vote. Like if they don't have them, I get upset. I'm like, where's my I
Yeah.
voted sticker? I need that. I need to show that off.
I post mine on Facebook, so
There you go. See, and it was really special. For one of the elections, my teenage son came and poll greeted with me, and it was really interesting to see how much more likely people were to come over and talk to us because we were a parent and a
yeah,
child.
yeah.
Yeah.
And what a good lesson for your son.
I hope so. I hope it sticks with him. I hope because I told him, it's something exactly what you said. It's something you can do that is directly affecting the experience people have when they come to the polls.
Yeah,
And you can make a difference. It could be that somebody learned something by reading your flyer because you gave it to them and you had a nice conversation when they may not have looked at it if they hadn't had that person to person contact.
right.
Um, Gary, I would love for the folks who are enjoying this along with me to know where they can purchase. I know you said that they can buy it directly from you, if they
Yeah,
want to get a
sure.
signed copy. So maybe you can share with our listeners how to do that.
Just send me an email at gdgrossman@gmail.com, and it's GDGROSSMAN at gmail.com. I assume you know how to spell the last part. I have a website. I'm pretty easy to find on the web, so just Gary D. Grossman. It turns out there are actually some other Gary Grossmans that are writers. Uh,
I found that because I was I wanted to see what you've been writing recently, so I was looking for your website, which I found and went to, but I also found there were all these other Gary Grossmans. I'm like, wait a second, I don't think this is the correct one.
Yeah, yeah. We used to have wars over who was first in the search engine, and he's like a Hollywood producer too, so his resources are, and what he's willing to throw at this is a little more than I was. So he hired some, I'm sure he hired some special SEO team. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, we used to fight over who had the first, who was first on Google or Alta Vista or whatever. Interestingly, he's from LA too, and we're not that far apart in age. So I actually knew some people that knew him when I was growing up.
Do you
So
think you could be related? Is it possible?
I don't know. I'll have to check my 23 and Me or whatever,
Yeah.
whatever
Well,
the.
the reason I ask is so interesting. I have a friend that is an Allison Hurwitz who lives in LA. And same thing, like she's online and she has a profile. I think she's a therapist, and so we it's either poetry or therapy practice coming up. But we've really enjoyed getting to know each other a little bit through Facebook because we share a lot of the same interests, even though we're in different fields, and obviously,
Interesting.
yeah. So it's just for me, it's just interesting to have a name, somebody whose name is exactly the same as
Yeah.
yours. You know?
Well, so our middle names, of course, are different, and that's why I
Yep.
say put the D in there. But there are like, maybe five Gary Grossmans that have web presences. There's a therapist in San Francisco, there's a professor in Arizona, and I don't think it's a very common name, so it just seems kind of odd that there are, Gary Grossmans that are that.
I feel like you need to write the poem that is about all these different Gary Grossmans
Yeah. A litany of
and
Gary
asking like, which
Grossmans.
one am I? Um, it makes me think about like those movies that were so popular in the early 2000s, where like Crash, and there's
Oh
all these
yeah, that the
different
Corda
coming.
ensemble puzzle
Yes,
puzzle
yes,
piece movies where it's all brought
yeah.
together at the end. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly, which I loved. I loved those movies, but I think about that as all the different Gary Grossmans and Allison Hurwitzes of the world. But I'm glad that this particular Gary Grossman is a poet and a friend, and I'm so grateful
Wow,
to you
thank
for
you.
joining me and sharing your wonderful work. And just everybody, if you, I know that you're going to be watching this on Well Versed Words. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm always here the second Sunday of each month. So definitely do stay tuned for more well versed words, and come back and join us. And again, thank you so much, Gary. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Well, thank you. It's been an honor to be on this podcast video. And I wish you success in all your ventures and that your children will be happy and healthy.
Ah, I wish the same for you. And I look forward to us exchanging cards at the holiday time, as we always
Okay,
do.
that'll be great. All
Take
right, take
care.
care.
Bye.
Bye bye now.